So in case you haven't heard, Samsung has announced a few new devices, the Galaxy S23, S23 Plus, and S23 Ultra. They also announced a new laptop, the Galaxy Book 3 Ultra, and I was fortunate enough to be invited by AT&T to their flagship store in San Francisco, California, for an early hands-on with the Galaxy S23 series phones. Also, AT&T is offering $1,000 off an eligible smartphone trade-in, making the S23 and S23 Plus free, or $199 for the S23 Ultra. I'll have the link in the description if you're interested in taking advantage of that deal. Now in this video, I'll cover the previous devices and the differences from the S22 series, mixed in with some observations and personal thoughts along with some limited camera samples, because I only had about 20 minutes with the phones. Now first off, the S23 models come with the latest Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chipset, which is good news for everyone outside the United States who only had access to the Exynos version that reportedly provided, let's just say, a lesser experience. They all come with the new 12 megapixel selfie camera, and all camera systems have the new AI for what Samsung calls nightography for epic night shots. All models also can shoot 8K 30 frames per second video and come with Bluetooth 5.3, up from 5.2 from the previous generation. All S23 models will ship with One UI 5.1 running on Android 13. So the S23 and S23 Plus have slightly larger capacity batteries with an extra 200 mAh over the previous S22 models. The smaller S23 now has slightly brighter display with a peak brightness of 1750 nits, up from 1300 nits on the S22. The 128GB storage configuration of the S23 has the same UFS 3.1 storage, but the 256GB version will have the newer and faster UFS 4.0 storage. So if you need to transfer large files, just be aware of that. Physically, I noticed the S23 is pretty much exactly the same as the S22 down to the flat screen and slightly curved edges, which might be disappointing to some, as I believe it was rumored to have flatter sides. Also, Samsung decided to remove the camera housing to look more like the Ultra model. The main difference on the larger S23 Plus model this year is that it now starts at 256GB of storage, up from the base 128, and up to 512GB overall. The phone storage options use the faster UFS 4.0 storage, and physically it is also similar to the S22 Plus, but has slightly flatter sides and also has removed the camera housing. I believe the S23 and S23 Plus have the same cameras as the S22 and S22 Plus, with a 50 megapixel Samsung GN5 main sensor, 10 megapixel 3x optical telephoto camera, and 12 megapixel ultra wide angle camera. Unsurprisingly, photos look similar, but of course further testing is required. As mentioned earlier, they have the new 12 megapixel selfie camera, which in brief testing into some tough backlight produces different results. Moving on to the star of the show, the main difference in the S23 Ultra from last year's S22 Ultra is that Samsung is promoting its new 200 megapixel Samsung ISOCELL HP2 main camera sensor, which has improved stabilization with 2x optical image stabilization, or OIS. It pixel bins or combines 16 pixels into a 12 megapixel photo with 2.4 micron size pixels. Optionally, you can combine 4 pixels into one for a 50 megapixel photo if you prefer a little bit more detail. This new sensor may have twice the megapixels from last year's model, but it roughly is the same size at 1/1.3 inches compared to the 1/1.33 inches in the S22 Ultra. So all that really means is that Samsung is roughly sliced each pixel in half this year, and personally I'd rather have a larger camera sensor like the 1-inch Sony IMX989 that's been producing some impressive results in other phones. Why? Because larger sensors matter in cameras because they capture more light, less noise, more details, and produce more natural bokeh or background blur. Anyway, I'd like to thank AT&T for hosting myself and a few other local creators and allowing us to check out these devices the same day as the Samsung Unpacked announcement. I placed an order for the S23 Ultra and I look forward to bringing you more content on it, including as many camera comparisons as possible, so please let me know in the comments what comparisons you would like to see. And in the meantime, if you enjoy camera comparisons, then check out these videos I'll have linked here. As always, thanks for watching.